Detroit Sports Nation. This is a sad day here at the news desk. This is going to be one of the roughest stories I've had to do since I've started sitting here and talking to you guys. If you're able to endure it with me, I appreciate you, because it ain't easy for me to do myself. Cade Cunningham shin injury is reportedly worse than we expected. Per Shams, per James Edwards III, a lot of beat writers reporting on it. It's also up on our website. We got a write-up on DetroitSportsNation.com. You can get the information there. Cade Cunningham's shin injury, where we thought was only going to have to rest for 3 games. What we were told, 3 games was the expectation. We are now looking at a point where we might not see Cade Cunningham the rest of the season. Oh, man. Okay. Cade played 12 games this season. Was averaging about 19, 6, and 6. Had some up and down moments throughout the season, but looked like he was ramping up to hit that year 2 breakout mode that we were all predicting and hoping for. Now, we're going to have to put that on the back burner because Cade is now, again, dealing with a situation where we thought originally it was only going to have to be rest to get the healing proper for this shin injury. Now, per the beat writers and per the reporting that we've seen, Cade could potentially be dealing with a stress fracture of his tibia, where surgery would be season-ending injury. It would be a season-ending procedure. The average time loss for a stress-related tibia injury normally requires surgery and healing that would take about 60-some games, which is basically the rest of the season. Oh, man. Again, this was not the expectation at all. We knew the Pistons were going to have to deal with some struggle. We said it. We talked about it. If you had expectations of the Pistons going to the playoffs or backing into a play-in tournament, some lofty expectations you had. I think that was a little too much. I think it was safer to hope that Cade would look like he was in all-star form before we would expect to see the Pistons in a play-in or playoff situation. And it looked like we were getting to that. For what we saw against the Golden State Warriors, for how he played against the Atlanta Hawks. Like, we saw games and moments where Cade was starting to look like that guy. And unfortunately, we're going to have to now put that expectation and hope on hold. This is sad. This is sad. This is not the news I want to get right before the holiday season. This is terrible. So again, all of you who had the expectation of the Pistons having the opportunity of potentially getting into the postseason, kick that out the window right now. Go ahead, put it in a bag, open your door, open your window, open the car, and just throw it out on 696, because it's not happening. It's not happening. This is an official punting of the 2022-2023 season. It's a wrap now. We are officially in tank mode already, and it just hit November. It just hit November. We already got to go back into draft mode. Oh my goodness. Okay, so because of that, we are now at a point where we're going to be seeing guys outside of Cade Cunningham take steps of development without him. And that's kind of upsetting because it feels like Cade is the most important piece to this franchise. You could argue maybe Troy Weaver. Maybe you could argue Troy Weaver. But to me, Cade is the most important piece of this franchise. In terms of players, coaching, front office, he's the most important piece to making this ship go right. And if you got guys that are developing without him, I don't know if that serves as a benefit to this team, because with a young, inexperienced team, you want to see them be able to take growing steps together, to gel, put chemistry on the court that they can build on for the future. And with him as your primary ball handler and decision maker, now being on the sideline for a whole year, it puts all those plans to rest at this point. It puts them now at a point where they got to hit reset and just hope and wait again for next season, where, again, they're going to have a high draft pick, and they're going to have to add a lot of high-end talent to take time to develop and figure it out together on the fly. Because even with this injury, I'm still expecting an improvement from this team. in next season. Not this season, next season. When you have the opportunity to get a Scoot Henderson, a Victor Wembanyama, you're now in a position where you're going to be adding one of few, maybe, franchise faces to this team. Because this is a loaded draft class that's coming. And you're going to now be in the prime position to get one of those guys. Pistons are one of the worst teams in the league with one of the worst records in the league, with some of the worst talent on their roster in the league, unfortunately. And it's not in terms of what they play with, it's in terms of their experience and their ability to play together. And again, now we're at a point where we're going to have to watch Jaden Ivey develop kind of on his own, which is going to be tough for him, I think. But he's doing a good job already in terms of playing as the primary ball handler and decision maker for this team. He hasn't been perfect, but he's done very well in terms of his growth throughout this season. We didn't get to ever really see Cade and Jalen Duren form any kind of development together or chemistry together. We knew Cade last season was at his best when he had a lob threat. And even with Marvin Bagley, Bagley's an okay player, even though he hasn't really been good since returning from his injury. Jalen Duren is back, and he was supposed to be the guy that could help take Cade and this team to the next level in terms of having that reliable paint presence, a 7-foot athletic machine who could do a lot more than people are really understanding. Jalen Duren's way better than people think is what I'm basically trying to say. And he had the ability to take Cade, I believe, from being good to great. But they never really got on the court together because Duren's been coming off the bench, and now obviously because Cade is dealing with injuries. I think we could be approaching a point where Jalen Duren could be starting sooner than later because Bagley's really not playing well, and Duren seems to be getting better and better and better with the minutes he's getting. So we're going to expect to see some extended minutes from him. Somebody else who's going to be getting some extended minutes is Killian Hayes. He's been pretty good for some spurts throughout the season. Now, we just saw him last night put up, I think he had 18 or 19, 6-5 or something like that against the Lakers in a loss, but still one of the better games we've seen from Killian. We're going to now have to see that in a stretch, an extended stretch. Somebody who's also had a pretty bad roll of the die in terms of injuries in Killian Hayes. But at this point, Killian's still in a make-or-break year. He needs to be able to play as well as we hope or we're projecting at any point in his career as a Piston. He needs to show that he's capable of that without Cade Cunningham. He's been playing pretty decent against with Jaden Ivey, but at this point, he's going to maybe have to take it up another notch because you don't have Cade to fall back on. Those 18-point games he's been putting up, we're going to have to see a lot more of those. We were maybe at a point where we could skirt with him maybe getting like 10, 12 points a game with 5 assists, 5 boards, some good defense on top of that. Now we're going to have to see a little bit more from Killian. This team, the team itself is on a rebuilding restoration phase where winning is not expected. Your absolute best in terms of winning is not expected right now at this moment. I don't think Killian Hayes has that same latitude. Now, I know they picked up his option for next season, but in order to truly solidify yourself as a building block for this team, we need to see a lot from Killian Hayes starting right now. He's going to have the opportunity to do it, and he's shown the ability to be able to do it. And I love that from him. Again, we're not rooting against Killian Hayes. I want to see him become what we've expected. And I think this is now an opportunity for him to do it. He's going to get a lot of minutes. He's going to get that opportunity to do that. Another person who's going to be getting a lot more minutes is probably Corey Joseph. Sorry, just going to happen. Corey's going to play a lot more. Hamadou's going to be playing a lot more. And I think this is a Dwayne Casey fest where he'll be happy to where he can play Corey Joseph extended minutes. I've heard people on Twitter asking about possibly trading out for somebody else to fill in for Cade. Oh, can we go get a veteran that could start for him? I don't think that's going to happen. I still think this team is on the same timeline that they were to start the season. If anything, that restoration and tanking mentality should have only expanded at this point now that Cade is going to be missing a lot of time this year. I think you have to be at the point where you're expecting for him to be, and I guess just healing itself. He's just healing at this point because, again, the kickback from last season, we remember hearing Dwayne Casey say that Cade Cunningham's ankle injury was only going to keep him out for a little bit of time. It was precautionary. I remember vividly him saying, it's just precautionary. We're sitting him for a little bit of time. He could come back shortly, but we're keeping this as a precautionary measure. Cool. That's exactly what you just said for this injury. And now we get misled again. Again, I'm not sitting here saying that the Pistons have mismanaged Cade. That is not at all the narrative I want to put out there. It is upsetting and frustrating, though, because we have heard Dwayne Casey give timelines, give expectations that have been literally the complete opposite of what actually happened. Now, granted, last season, all he did was miss preseason and a few games out of the regular season. He also did miss a few games throughout the rest of the regular season, where I think he missed maybe 10 to 12 games. So he's been dealing with some knick-knack injuries through his career. This instance, though, is way worse. Because, again, we were told and we were instructed that it was still precautionary. He would maybe miss 4 games during this West Coast trip. That's not going so well for them right now. Now, with this news, it's the complete opposite. We didn't know he was dealing with this during preseason. We didn't know nothing about his shin injury during preseason. They said it was a nagging injury that he's been dealing with and been trying to grow through. And apparently it hadn't got to a point where he's feeling better, even when he was playing great. And now at this point, they say he might need surgery to repair it, where he may need to sit and just rest up until next season to repair it. And that's tough. That's absolutely tough to hear, because the last thing you want Cade Cunningham to be is what he was projected to be. In this way, I mean, in terms of health, because a big comp that we heard from Cade Cunningham was Grant Hill. The last thing we need in the Detroit sports world is another Grant Hill. That's the last thing you want, is another Grant Hill. And again, it's not in terms of talent, because we all know Grant could ball. And him and Cade do have a lot of similar features in how they play. But you cannot afford another Grant Hill. We cannot afford another star with super injury concerns. This is already a problem. Like, the Pistons have been dying for a star. We've been dying for a fitting piece that can uplift the people and the players around him and put this team on the path that we remember in restoration to getting them to the winning status again. And now we gotta wait. Now we gotta wait again. You're not gonna win without Cade Cunningham. I strongly doubt it's gonna happen. I have the very lowest of expectations of that happening. And this is very, very upsetting news right before the holiday season. This is not at all what we expected. This is not at all what we thought was gonna happen. But again, the silver lining is you're at the very least now in position to land one of the many generational pieces that are coming up in this NBA draft. And hopefully they fit perfectly with Cade when he comes back healthy. So Cade, we're crossing our fingers for you, man. We praying for the best. I'll donate my shit if I need to. Get me in touch with whoever I need to make that happen for, because this is not at all what we expected. Cade has dealt with a lot of knick-knack injuries that have kept him out, and it's just a wild surprise that nobody expected. Again, to be a Detroit sports fan, you got to be able to deal with stuff like this. When a team is riding high, where the player breaking out that we thought was going to look like they were in all-star mode and really take that year 2 step of being a franchise player and a superstar in the making, we thought was coming this year with Cade Cunningham. And to have that snatched right under you is really what it means to be a Detroit sports fan. And that's why we built different than everybody else in this country. Oh, man. I'm trying to smile through it. I'm trying to laugh through it. This is sad. I'm very upset, and I really hope for the best with Cade. I really hope for the best with the Pistons, and again, hopefully the procedure, whatever it is, goes smoothly to get him back on the court to play at 100%, because we'd love to see it. Talk to me in the comment section, though. I'd love to hear from you. I want to hear, what was your initial reaction when you heard this? Because, again, we've heard this swerve before from Dwayne Casey. Oh, it's no big deal. He'll be fine. We'll be back. It's precautionary. And actually, he's now out for the whole season. Let me know what your comments were. I'd love to hear from you. Talk to me in the comments. Let me know what you were thinking when you first heard this story about Cade Cunningham's season. Like the video. Make sure you subscribe into the channel as well if you're new to the channel. We're still inching closer to 5,000 subscribers for our YouTube channel. Help us make that milestone happen by hitting subscribe and hit the notification bell to get all updates right away from us at DSN right here from the news desk. Make sure you tap it in on our social media as well. Facebook, Twitter, which still seems to be going. It's not done yet, thanks to Elon Musk. Make sure you follow us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. Search and follow Detroit Sports Nation. And give me a follow as well at I am Eric Vincent. Please do not mind the sadness on my timeline. It's just for today. I'm not rolling me this emo. Just very, very upsetting to find this news for Cade, man. We just weren't expecting this at all. But for sure, give me a follow so I can stay in touch and locked with you as well on social media. Thank you for enduring this round of sadness here with me at the news desk. I greatly appreciate your time and support. I'll be back here again with you soon, right here from the DSN News Desk. Peace.